What's going on, everybody? I'm gonna wait a second here once you guys kind of come in. I want to make sure you guys are actually all here before we get started, and I want to make sure if you guys can hear me. So let me know in the comments below if you guys can hear me. Perfect, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, you guys, what a freaking game, man. Like, I'm so pumped up. You know, first and foremost, I honestly felt that we're about to throw this game away. Like, flat out. In the beginning of this game, I really thought that we're about to lose this game. Because we let the Broncos stay within scoring range, right? I mean, think about right before halftime when Drew Lock ran that touchdown in. Could you guys imagine if that actually stood? The game would have been much different than where it ended up being, right? But let's talk about it because the Raiders won 37-12, and I'm pumped the heck up, man, because the Raiders are 6-3, man. Like, the playoffs are right there. I could not be more excited. 6-3 is just one of those. It's just one of those things where when you look at a team and you say, "Hey, this team's 6-3," chances are they're going to the playoffs, right? Plus, you think about the fact that they added a whole nother seed, right? There's now 7 teams that are going to end up making the playoffs on each side. That just gives us a better chance. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I know you guys are pumped up too. 37-12, man, and that too. That garbage touchdown doesn't really count, right? It should have been 37-6, right? The Raiders defense, man, Paul Gunther, and he got those guys going. You know, you look at the Broncos and look at how many times they picked up like a 30-yard gain, and then the defense just stepped up and shut them down and forced them to punt the ball. You know, just to start off, in the beginning of the game, AJ Cole, man, and the kicker Daniel Carlson as well. But AJ Cole pinned the Broncos back multiple times over and over and over again. And that right there started off very well and beneficial to the Raiders because that allowed us to stop them from scoring. Because again, like I mentioned, you know, there were plays where like Jerry Jeudy would get a 30-yard catch or the receiver Patrick would catch a catch. And then because they were pinned back, 30, 40 yards really didn't matter because they punt us the ball anyways. 30, 40 yards, if you're at the 35-yard line, that's a field goal, right? So great job by AJ Cole to pin him back. He had 3 inside the 20. He deserves a game ball. You know, AJ Cole 100% deserves a game ball. Derek Carr, not great statistically speaking, but because of DC, we win this game. There was a specific play where he broke a tackle. He rolled out to his left, and then he threw it up to Henry Ruggs, who jumped up and caught the ball over Justin Simmons, the All-Pro safety. That play right there by DC to extend the play when no one was open on third down, that got us going, and we scored on that drive. I think that was the only touchdown we had in the first half. So. Great job by DC on that specific play. 16 of 25, 154 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Not a great game by DC, but it was good enough to get us the win. And he scored when it really mattered, right? Or he converted when it really mattered. Overall, we were not great. Third downs, especially in the first half, like we were awful in the first half. If the Broncos had any sort of good offense or good offensive players, or if they had a decent quarterback, they could have taken advantage, but obviously, as you guys know, they kind of sucked, right? Josh Jacobs and Devontae Booker. You know, it's crazy because I really want to talk about these two guys and the offensive line in general. You know, it's crazy to me to think the fact that at one point we were playing teams like the Bills, the Patriots, the Saints, the Bucks, and Josh Jacobs was averaging like 3 yards a carry, and he was being shut down to less than 100 yards. Like, he did not have a 100-yard game until I think last week, right? Or I'm sorry, the week before last week, right? That was the first time he actually hit 100 yards. I think that was the Browns game. But before that, like, he did not have 100 yards. People were saying he was kind of struggling or whatever, you know? However, with that being stated, today Josh Jacobs had 112 yards for the Raiders. The O-line was opening up holes, and we all know, right? We all know that Colton Miller and Trent Brown are both out, right? Left guard, our starting left guard anyways, is out. So technically, we only have 2 guys that are full-time starters that are still in there. We have 3 backup linemen in. Plus, Sam Young went out, I think, sometime in the third quarter. So with that being stated, we had a bunch of backups in there. But they still got it done, you know. I know I don't say a whole lot of game balls for Tom Cable, but Tom Cable deserves a game ball because Tom Cable has gotten this whole entire offensive line unit going, and the running game is playing well now, right? If you guys just think about the fact that Josh Jacobs had over 100 yards, Booker had 81 yards. In total, we had over 200 yards running and 4 touchdowns running the ball, right? If you guys just think about that, this is against a team, the Broncos, who technically have a pretty good defense. I think they were 7th against the run coming in. But again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the Saints, the Bucks, the Patriots, those are some of the top tier defensive lines, defensive units in the NFL. So we might struggle a little bit against those teams. But when you're playing a team like the Broncos, even though they're in the top 10 against the run, the Raiders are probably the best unit when it comes to their offensive line. And this is with 3 backups. If we had our starters, we're easily the best unit in the NFL. But even with the current unit, we're definitely still a top 5 unit. And if you guys think about how much that impacts his team, I talked to one of my friends who's a Broncos fan. And we talked a little bit right after the game. And he says that like the thing he notices about the Raiders is the offensive line, the way we block, the way we scheme up these different runs. He says that it's super, super impressive. And I agree with him. I see these things and I'm glad that outsiders are kind of seeing this. Us Raider fans, we know exactly what this team does. We know exactly how they block the backside, right? They let that guy go to block all the front side guys, right? But it's nice to kind of hear like outsiders recognizing it and kind of saying how good and impressive the Raiders are, right? Again, Tom Cable deserves a game ball. He honestly deserves a game ball every week, in my opinion, the way he has his offensive line blocking. With that being stated, staying on the offense side of the ball, and we're going to move into the defense in just a second here. The offense in general, when it comes to the receiving, is not that great right now. And I think part of the game flow also makes a difference, right? If like we're not in a high score type of game, it's different, right? DC will throw for 400 yards. And I know today was not great when it came to DC and the offensive weapons in general. But when it really mattered, when we needed those first downs, they got the chains moving, right? There was a third down where Renfro picked up like 15 yards or 20 yards. And we ended up getting a field goal out of that, right? As long as we're able to keep the chains moving through the passing game, but really we're gonna pound the ball, I think this team can still continue to win that way, right? Of course, as you guys know, when it came to like the Chiefs game, for example, we 100% won the Chiefs game by throwing the ball, right? DC came in and we knew we had to score points, and DC did it. Again, next week, Sunday Night Football, it's gonna be a huge match, and I'm excited to kind of see where our offense is against that team, right? Moving in, and let's talk about this a little bit. The defense. It's crazy. It's crazy to me to think about this because the defense it's been garbage, right? Like that's the only way you can really describe how bad the defense has been. But if you think about it right now, right? Like look at what this defense did this week and even last week. Like they won us the game, but this week specifically, like if our defense had 0 takeaways and 0 turnovers, I think we lose this game. I think there's a good chance we could end up losing this game. The defense had 5 turnovers. I don't know where the hell this defense came from because of 5 turnovers. Like, that's crazy to me to think that. And that has me so pumped up because it wasn't just 5 turnovers, right? It was more than the turnovers. It was like the confidence that this defense was playing with. We had 2 interceptions by Jeff Heath. Nick Kwiatkowski with the beautiful, he tipped it and he one-handed, he was able to intercept it. And then that Carl Nassib play where he drops back off the defensive end spot. Drew Lock does not see it and he picks it off. 4 interceptions. And then the 5th takeaway was the Nevin Lawson strip, right? Those types of plays and the confidence that I saw from these guys, it's crazy because I've never seen them play this way, And earlier this week, I was actually thinking back to a game 10 years ago against the Broncos. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember this. We scored 59 points against the Broncos. I think it was like 59-14 or 59-21. It was that huge blowout Broncos game, and I shared that game. And I sent it to my brother, and I talked to him, and I was like, man, can you believe this was 10 years ago? And crazingly, if the Raiders just hit on some of the big plays, right? Like Darren Waller had a drop touchdown. Aguilar had a dropped touchdown. Like, we could have scored close to 60 points against this team, if you really think about it, right? And of course, you guys know the Hunter Renfrow touchdown as well. We could have scored 60 points, right? We'd have had at least 18 more points because we kicked the field goal on one of them. We could have had at least 18 more points. We scored 37, right? So that's good enough for the win, right? But, like, it's crazy to think that we won by scoring so many points. And more than just scoring points, we won because the defense and the offense gelled together when we needed them to, right? We got the key third down stops. We got the key turnovers. 5 turnovers, man. That's freaking crazy. And more than just the turnovers, I got to give a huge shout out to Paul Gunther for bringing like various blitzes and stuff like that. Because there were plays where like he would blitz from one side and then he'd have like the DN drop back. And of course, that one of them we ended up getting an interception on. But we had 10 quarterback hits. Think about that. 10 quarterback hits is a ton of quarterback hits. And I think when we had 1 sack, or we had 2 sacks, I think Crosby had one and Morrow had one. But if you think about it, like 10 quarterback sacks, on top of that 2 more sacks, that's 12 times we hit Drew Lock. Like, that's going to make any quarterback uncomfortable. It could be Patrick Mahomes. It can be Tom Brady, Drew Brees, whoever it is. You hit them that many times on, like, every third drop back they're getting smacked in the face. It's going to make them think twice. And it's going to make them realize, like, hey, this defense is coming after me. And then so many other things work, right? Like, you can bring a fake blitz and the quarterback's going to panic just a little bit. Overall, man, this defense was going. The offense, they had some really good moments, right? Of course, I would love to not settle as much. I think we had 3 field goals, right? I'd rather have touchdowns than field goals. But 37 points, you're going to win majority of your games if you're 37 points. And we couldn't say that in the beginning of this year, because in the beginning of the year, we would not have stopped a team from scoring 37. We're giving up like 40 points a game in the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, right? But today, the way the defense has been playing the last 2 to 3 weeks, like, I'm very confident that if we score 37 points, we're gonna win most of our games. But with that being said, man, 6-3, like, I'm pumped, man. If you guys can't tell how pumped I am, man, I don't know. You guys don't know me then, right? But yeah, I'm excited, man. I hope you guys are excited too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna actually read through some of the comments. Let me know some questions you guys have. Go ahead and put your questions in right now. I do want to make one more point. If you guys watched my episode 18 of the Raiders pod, I did mention to watch Hunter Renfrow and watch how he kind of has his punt returns. There was a question asked by, I think, John Q regarding if we should have Henry Ruggs have, either punt or kick return. I said maybe, not necessarily, but for him, if for all you guys, John Q asked that question about Ruggs, and Ruggs actually did have a kick return. I think he picked up over 20 yards. So maybe we see more kick returns, maybe not. Hunter Renfrow ran one back to the house. Obviously, it didn't count because Jonathan Abram had to smack someone, and it was called as a penalty. But it was exciting, man. Renfrow was still getting like 15-20, 15-20. And overall, we were playing really, really well throughout this game. Great job. And I'm going to read some of these questions here. I'm going to actually go through the super chat really quickly. I got, I think, 1, maybe 2. Man, there's just too many comments. It's going too quickly. Sorry about that, you guys. I'll have to make another video going through these comments and actually answering your guys' questions. But yeah, someone did mention the Colts and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are on fire right now, and if the Raiders want to make the playoffs and potentially the Super Bowl, you guys know that we're going to have to win some of these games down the line, especially against some of those teams that are also going to be pushing to make the playoffs. The Ravens are playing right now. I don't know the outcome of that game. But if the Patriots win that game, the Patriots are going to then also be pushing to make a playoff or make the playoffs as well. So they're going to be fighting with us for that spot. And if you guys remember, the Patriots beat us, which means any sort of tiebreaker, they're going to at least get the first dibs to that. But the Dolphins look good, man. The Colts obviously are a good team as well. I'm not too worried about the Colts because their quarterback, we kind of own that quarterback. So I'm not too excited about that. Some of you guys asked about when Incognito will be back. I'm really not sure. I think he practiced a little bit last week, or at least he had a little bit more going on in practice. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not there next week, but maybe the week after. With that being stated, I'm not too worried about that left guard position because we do have Denzel Good. I think Denzel Good's one of the better left guards in the NFL, and you can call me Raider bias if you want, but one position I know is guard. That's the exact position I played, and I can tell you guys right now, Denzel Good is a very, very solid offensive lineman. Left tackle, right tackle, I really didn't even notice that there were any sort of differences today, which is actually a really good sign. Brandon Parker, great game. Sam Young got hurt, and then we had the backup come in, number 78. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to take that shot at doing that. Our O-line was really struggling early on in the game. They were struggling a little bit. There was a point where DC was being pressured a little bit. He was able to get out a little bit. But at the end of the day, us being able to successfully run the ball, it opens everything else up. Our team looks so much better when we're able to successfully run the ball. And that too, when you look at the Broncos, they were gassed. They did not want anything to do with that Raiders front, right? The Raiders were just pounding the ball over them. I'm seeing a lot of your guys' comments. I say keep, from Hakeem Boxing, I say keep Trent Brown and Incognito out until the postseason. Who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe John Gruden's saving something up for the postseason, right? Because he knows that this team is ready for the postseason. Now, if you guys are going into work tomorrow, make sure to wear your guys' Raider gear. If you guys are going to school, make sure to represent the Raiders. If you're working from home like I am, even though no one's going to see me, make sure you still represent your Raiders gear, man. Enjoy this victory. I plan to have a film study for you guys on Tuesday. And if you guys are not already a member of the of this channel, a premium member, make sure to subscribe to that. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button, smash that subscribe button. I'm going to go through some of these comments and read some of the questions, and I'm going to answer that on Thursday when I do my next live video. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the win, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.